Hyenas are very misunderstood animals. They're often seen as the evil carnivore species within the African savannas, where as a matter of fact they're actually highly intelligent. They've got most intricate social structures, and they really are a charismatic species. Hyenas, and particularly spotted hyenas in Zululand and Phinda Private Game Reserve, play a vital role in ecological functioning, as although they do spend most of their time actively hunting in this area, they do also scavenge quite a lot. And what that does is it removes dead carcasses, dead animals that may be carrying disease. It removes them from the system. What is also really important, especially in Phinda, is they are the most abundant large carnivore on the property. We have about 30 lions and 20 odd cheetah, and we have close to 50 spotted hyenas. So they do play a crucial role in regulating the prey species numbers on the reserve. We're currently running a project on spotted hyenas called the Mun-Ya-Wana Conservancy Spotted Hyena Project, in conjunction with some of our partners, Wild Tomorrow Fund and the Oak Foundation. To date, we've collared 18 spotted hyenas within the Zululand area. We've collared 10 on Phinda Private Game Reserve, 6 on Mkuzi, and 2 on Manyoni. And this project is run by a PhD student, Axel. And what we're trying to find out here is how these animals are utilizing not only these individual reserves, but the landscape as a whole. Unfortunately, a lot of spotted hyena in this area and in other parts of the country have been persecuted from a hunting point of view, and also from a human-wildlife conflict point of view. There are a lot of cases where communities and farmers are reporting livestock being taken by spotted hyenas, and unfortunately the natural reaction to that is to remove the threat, which is, in other words, to shoot or put down the animal. So we've seen regionally a large drop in the spotted hyena numbers, and so through the initial parts of this project, that resulted in the IUCN reclassifying spotted hyenas as near threatened, and we're hoping that this new project is going to uncover more reasons and more ways that the hyenas are utilizing the landscape, so we can better understand where the threats are. We've noticed a trend in the last few years of a lot of hyenas getting snares. I think we've removed around 10 snares of hyenas over the last 2 years, and through camera traps and some of the collared individuals who had picked these up, it's mostly been animals that have left the property and then come back in. This is another reason we need to understand how these animals are utilizing the reserve and the area surrounding the reserve, so we can kind of work with our neighboring communities and farmers to find ways that we can save these animals and conserve them for the long run. Yeah, so collaring a hyena is quite a tricky task. Unlike your lions or cheetah, which will come quite close to your vehicle, they're very used to people and game drive. Spotted hyenas are more active during the night, so they don't have as much interaction with people and vehicles, so they tend to be a little bit more shy and elusive around the vehicles. And they're also very intelligent, so they can sense when something is not normally up. So the basic process would be to find as large as possible carcass, something that has died, and then we would normally start by putting camera traps up and seeing which animals are coming to that carcass repetitively over time. Once we've ID'd the right kind of animal, the right age and sex, we'd then get the vet and the rest of the ground team together, and we would go and we would wait close to the carcass, often using a call-up system, a speaker, and playing either hyena calls or animals in distress calls, and then we would wait for that animal to get within range and start feeding, and then the vet would mix a combination of drugs and dart the animal. 3.5 to 4 minutes after that dart's gone in, the animal will normally stop moving, stop walking around and fall down, and then the team will jump off the vehicle and we'll put a blindfold in just to reduce any stimulation, and then we'll take some basic measurements and attach the collar. Yeah, so it's not often that you get the chance to get hands-on with a wild carnivore like a spotted hyena. Whenever there's an opportunity and the animal is immobilized, it makes sense to collect as much data that we can. It's not necessarily to answer a specific question at that moment in time, but we often get students or universities approaching us further down the line asking for information, and then we say, oh, okay, well, unfortunately we don't have that, so we'd rather collect as much as we can when we have the opportunity. We do a full range of anatomical measurements, starting with the dental structure, measuring things like the canines, incisors, molars, premolars, and this is to be able to compare with other people who've collected this information and to build on the knowledge that we already have about the anatomy of these kind of species. We also do cranial measurements, the sagittal crests and zygomatic arch, so the whole head structure, as well as the length of the legs and the length of the whole body and the tail, as well as the foot pad. And this information is all stored and feeds into various studies and guides as to what these measurements are for research and academic purposes. So the collars that we've been putting on these spotted hyenas, they have a VHF, which is a very high frequency, or a telemetry unit within them, and they also have a satellite unit within them. The VHF is what we use to locate on a fine scale when we roughly know which area they're in, to actually physically locate the animal, to check that the collar is sitting okay, it's behaving normally, the collar is not impacting its behavior at all. Then the satellite unit, that is manually changeable using your phone or a web-based app, and that allows us to collect the movement data at the landscape level. We can track hourly or every 2 hours or every 4 hours, depending on what the specific question is at the time, and try and get an understanding of how these animals are using the landscape. So a combination of drugs, xylitol and medetomidine, are used to immobilize or to tranquilize the hyena, as it is with a lot of other carnivores. And the combination is used so that you can have a gradual, slow wake-up following the operation. Half of the reversal agent will be put in intravenously and the rest intramuscularly, and it's a lot more slow, gradual wake-up, and that's just to minimize the risk of the animal being injured or reacting badly. So the spotted hyena that we recently collared was actually born very close to where we found it and collared it, and it's been so fascinating because we saw that specific individual when he was a really small little cub. And so we've seen his whole development, and now he's just about 3 years old and about to disperse, and it makes him the most ideal study animal. We don't have a lot of information on that, and so it's going to be super fascinating to follow his movements of that satellite collar and see where he goes, if he starts interacting with other hyenas, if we find other clans or dens. So I think it's although the project's been going on for quite a while now, by collaring this individual of that specific age and sex, I think we're going into the next chapter where we're going to learn a whole bunch of new things. What we've learned from the data we've got so far is these animals require large areas. That's why we're looking at more of a landscape scale for this project. They move a long distance, and we're finding that dispersing animals that are leaving the protected areas are not frequently coming back. In other words, they're being killed outside these protected areas. So from point of view of being able to assist, travel, stay in lodges, incentivize reserves to keep open and wild areas to stay wild, as much habitat that we can keep or include into conservation areas, the better for species like spotted hyena, as well as all of the other species.